but I was just like holding a weapon and talking to his daughters. I was like, it kind of feels weird. I feel like I should put my weapon down, but then again, their dad is Deadpool, and
nothing
it's totally normal. Yeah.
This month, Tumble Track is having a site-wide holiday sale. You can save an additional 5% on orders over $499. Everything and anything you can think of for a happy, healthy home training if you want, including extra mats. Like, say, if you were like me and you always do gymnastics in your living room, and sometimes you ran from outside into the inside and then sometimes over rotated, and when maybe there was furniture in front of you or something you didn't want to hit your head on, or you fell into the coffee table, mats from Tumble Track can help make these bumpers so you can make the environment safer for you. Mats are good, and they're having a sale on them. Just a random example. So visit Tumble Track, TUMBLTRAK, tumbletrack.com, train smart. Norbert's is having a December special on cloud mats. Blue and black denim of joy is what I call these. Save your body, like land on a puff. Don't feel it in your lungs when you land. If you're landing on your back on top of these on a big mat or in the pit, oh, they're so nice. Go to Norbert's for a 10% discount on anything with the code GymCastic. Norbert's is also giving away a $50 Norbert's gift card that can be used in anything in their online store. Great for the holidays, no minimum. Just follow Norbert's Athletic on Instagram and comment on the giveaway post. Good luck. Today, Utah did something we have been saying college meets or FIG meets should bring back. We've been saying this for years and years and years, and finally the genius marketing team or coaches or whoever at Utah finally did it, so we'll tell you about it. We have a stunt woman and the first American to compete a Cheng, Vanessa Zamarripa, is here to talk about stunt work and her new children's book. And we have all the Gymternet news, including where Worlds is going to be, new stuff for LA 2028, and the coaches ranking for NCAA. It's December 16th, 2024, and welcome to the number one gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica, and I'm here with Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation. And if you didn't catch our live show with Athens Olympic team captain Mohini Bhardwaj, you can watch the replay still and get your ticket at gymcastic.com through the new year. Gymcastic.com, replay. Don't worry, you can still watch. Headlines. Let's talk about the most important thing that happened ever in the history of the world.
Sure. Don't overstate
it. It used to be the rule that you had to have a live pianist to accompany your floor. So this was normal.
The good old days.
Yeah, the good old days.
The bad old days, but also the good old days.
Yes. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Utah brought it back for their intrasquad exhibition meet, where they had piano throughout their exhibition routines, including beam, and then Jaylene Gilstrap, who has the beautiful balletic style flexibility.
She is allowed to do one of the few gymnasts who's allowed to do the hardest leaps. Because she can actually do them.
One of the only ones. She did her routine to live piano. The piano was beautiful piano right next to the I was about to say the stage. It's actually called a floor, but when you add live musicians, it's called a stage. I loved it so much. I can't get enough of this. Like I have been suggesting this for years and years and years and years, and no one did it. And finally Utah did. I applaud you all. You're geniuses. Well done.
It made the beam routine so much more enjoyable.
Yes.
I was like, yes, always do it with piano music. I like these songs so much better when they're just piano music.
Yes, it's just so pretty. It like makes, gymnastics is supposed to be, dance combined with acrobatics seamlessly, which has been lost with a lot of standing still and doing weird stuff before your acrobatics instead of going right into it from the dance. And the piano makes it make more sense. Or whatever, instrumental music. I just loved it. Spencer, what would you like to see other teams build off of this genius marketing campaign?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can do more than piano. Bring in a whole symphony.
Yes.
Like that. Other teams are going to look at Utah doing that and then try to one-up them. And suddenly you're going to see like LSU have like the Louisiana Chamber Orchestra is going to be there for Connor McClain or something.
I mean, it's just there's so many things you could do.
I wish they had done it for all the floor routines, but I think it's too hard.
Yeah, no. Her routine was perfect. And the other routines, they're
the floor music people choose. It's like you could I can't translate all this clanging into instrumental music.
I went to the UCLA intrasquad, which I completely missed because traffic in LA. But I hung out afterwards in the bar. And
awesome.
and people were talking about the Spotify, what did they say? A Spotify barf was brought up. And I was like, Spencer, Spotify barf. Yeah, it's just these horrible cuts in the music. But I was excited to see that Jordan Chiles, because she just got to UCLA and hasn't been there all semester, because she was on the tour, they did a genius job of marketing her only being able to do her Olympic team routine because she just got there. So they were like, farewell, last ever performance of the bronze medal winning floor routine. She's saying goodbye to this floor routine. Well, we can't
really say bronze medal winning.
Oh, I can.
Okay, you can.
It was at one time.
I mean, true. We do acknowledge Andrea Raducan as the gold medalist from 2000, so we can acknowledge Jordan Chiles as the bronze medalist on floor.
Yeah, it's a true in a space of a week. That was a fact. So, so I love that she did it. And like, she does not look like she has missed a day of practice. Like, she has definitely been
touring.
She's been touring.
She's been doing some stuff.
She's ready. At the Kentucky intrasquad, Kentucky intrasquad. Yeah, the Kentucky intrasquad, they had a proposal.
Oh, goodness.
On the floor. Feelings. McNally got engaged.
Oh, Isabella McNally.
Yes.
To the beam? Because her beam is wonderful.
It should have been.
Engaged to beam.
She got engaged on the floor, which was inappropriate. But
it should have been mid straddle jump on beam.
Can you imagine if some dude made it about or a woman made it about his proposal during a routine instead of letting her finish? Oh my God. That would have been the worst. Anyway.
In an intrasquad, I think it would have been great.
I do not. Mid-leap. I would have been like, it's not about you and your future.
I have to dismount.
It's only about gymnastics right now. You can have your real life after this. Yeah, so congratulations to the couple. I have no idea who the dude was, some tall guy. But she seemed very pleased, so that's all that matters, obviously.
So it was a successful proposal.
Yes.
It wasn't a live streamed no, which also would have been my dream.
Oh my God. Can you imagine if someone did that?
I mean, that's definitely happened at like stadium cam proposals before.
Yeah. I mean but you never know if they're actually staged.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Rhys McClenaghan, world and Olympic champion on the pommel horse, is doing Dancing with the Stars Ireland just like I predicted.
Yeah, you did say that.
Yeah,
you did say that was your dream.
That is my dream. Like, he should do that.
Rhys listens to you. So
yeah, he does everything I say. I was like, be a world champion, be a prodigy, and he was. That's why he got the nickname. So I'm excited to see how he does, because gymnasts are great on the dancing show. They can be coached very well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
it's almost like, though, it's not actually about the dancing, but I think Rhys has the personality and the charm to win as well.
Yes. Winning, I'm like, is it really about the winning, or is it about,
How dare you? Everything's about winning.
The other thing that happened this past week was that Mohini told us all about Horkina coming to camps in Texas, because Mohini's coach was a Soviet coach. So like the Russian team would come, like Nemov and Horkina would all come in for training camps in Texas, and all the stuff that they got up to. And she also was telling us about what it was like when the 2000 team came back from the Sydney Olympics, because they were mostly on her college team. And then, oh my God, the Marta stories. You guys, the Marta stories. How Mohini did not... Well, I did ask her specifically, how did you not just like yell or punch someone in the face. And then she explained it. And I was like, oh, because you're learned maturity, something I'm still working on. And then, yeah, she talked about how she made it to the Olympics, out of the Olympics with 0 injuries. Totally healthy coming out of Olympics. Like, it's not normal. So if you want to hear all of those kinds of stories, you can still watch the replay of our live show that we did in Portland last week with Mohini Bhardwaj, Athens Olympic team captain, made the Olympic team at 25 after graduating from college. Replay will be available through the new year, and it makes a great gift. And, we have a
Give the
gifting
gift
thing.
of Mohini.
The gift of Mohini is the best gift. If you're a season pass holder, look in your email, and it'll say it's an invitation. So it doesn't say like click here to buy or click here to whatever, because you already did your season pass holder. It's an invitation to watch it. So please enjoy. If you have any questions, customer service at gymcastic.com. More Gymternet news that I want to talk about.
Okay.
Most importantly,
a lot's been happening.
So much has happened.
Don't say December's the down season.
I know, except not this year.
About.
We have a new skill alert. Let's look at this skill. If you're a visual listener, you can look at this skill from Matisse Bressard of France, who is doing a double ginger. So he does it's like he's doing a double back dismount and then turns around and grabs the bar.
It's like, release, double tuck. Like you think he's going to do a Kovac at first, because he starts tucking and swinging, and then he does a half turn and catches.
It's so amazing and so cool. And
it shows multiple shapes, because he tucks and then kind of lays out to catch. And, so the women's technical committee would be like, this skill is a 0.
So I asked him about how this came about. He's hoping to get above a G rating for this, like an H or an I. And so he saw Fuzuki attempt this skill, and then he kind of thought about it and was like, oh, maybe I could try this. So he just gave it a try one time for fun, and he touched the bar, with the pad on it. So
that's a big win.
Yeah, on the first try.
Try.
He said he got it by his 6th try, and he was like, oh, I could actually do this skill for real. So yeah, I love this. This is the kind of stuff I'm like, no one's ever going to do that. That's nuts. But of course, it's gymnasts. And they are nuts. So this is the kind of stuff they do. I'm so excited to see. I hope they don't downgrade this. Because I'm worried that they'll be like,
well, yeah, always be worried about the valuation of skills.
Exactly. What do you think about the Jakarta news, the Worlds news?
Thank God. Okay, so the news about the Jakarta Worlds 2025 is that the FIG has actually come to their senses and increased the number of athletes back to what it has been at previous individual world championships the year after the Olympics. So that's 4 women and 6 men, which is still
wrong,
but it's better than 3.
1 per event. It's understandable, but obviously men shouldn't have more events than women. So it's more opportunity and a larger pot of money that goes to them, and it should be equal. But this is much better.
Over 3 athletes.
Yes. Big improvement. I'm very happy about this. So,
which no one was happy about. It was one of those weird things that was suddenly a rule, and everyone was like, we all hate this.
Yeah. And it just, so I'm excited that they've increased the number of people. Also, we found out where 2027 Worlds is going to be. So this is the last chance to qualify for the LA Olympic Games is going to be in Chengdu, China. September. It's going to be very early, September 28th to October 6th.
Yeah, so usually it's in October and sometimes into November for Worlds. So that we know the whole quad of Worlds now. Jakarta 2025, Rotterdam 2026, Chengdu 2027.
LA. I was hoping Denmark would come back into the Worlds. Remember they were supposed to host the Worlds during the pandemic?
2021.
Yeah.
I know.
I just want it to be in all my favorite places where I can just walk to everything. That's just my rule. I want to walk through a nice whatever area. But Chengdu is supposed to be one of the new nice, built up, cool cities, right? I think it's Chengdu.
I do not know.
Yeah. There's one they like to host everything because it's the most modern, nicest city. Modern show-off city. That's what I would like to go. So I'm excited. Are you excited to go to China?
You know I'm not going.
I was hoping you'd be like, yes, it's secretly my dream. I've always wanted to go to China. Oh, well. Kovtun. So, Ilya Kovtun, great
Yes, we do.
Ukrainian gymnast, has been great for them for years, famous for wearing to the not Antwerp Worlds. What Worlds was? He wore a shirt that said Liverpool, no war to podium training, which is a big no-no. You can't make any political statements, but the FIG was like, well, we totally understand. We hate what Russia's doing too. So
we agree with you.
Just please don't do it. Slap on the wrist. So nothing happened to him. And just competed in the Olympics for Ukraine. So his coach has said on the socials that they are going to compete for Croatia now, and that he will be submitting for a country change. And this, I think, is not too surprising, considering that many of the men in the Ukrainian program have come out and said they're having a really hard time with the Ukrainian Federation. Not that they don't want to compete for Ukraine, that like the things that they've had to put up with the new Federation president has made it so that they don't want to do it anymore. So it's a huge loss for Ukraine. I mean, there's obviously more important things going on, and this is meaningless in the grand scheme of things, but a big loss for them. But he's been training in Croatia anyway, so. Hesley talked to Scott Bregman of Olympics.com and the Olympic Channel, and she said that she intends to compete the full elite quad, looking at this coming Worlds in Jakarta, then the Rotterdam Worlds, and the 2027 Worlds in China, and then going for the next Olympics.
Yeah, she's brand new. We barely know her. She
She's
made
only
an Olympic team, but we feel like we still barely know her. So yeah,
right. She's only like 16 or 15 or something. Like, yeah, you have many years. Let's keep doing all the meets through your 30s. That's my expectation for everyone now. When you're 30, then you can be like, maybe. World Champion Center, which is owned by Simone Biles' mom, not Simone Biles, by the way. I just want to make that clear. A lot of people are like, Simone's gym, and like, yes, it was built for her.
Simone's gym.
But she does not run it at all.
It's Nellie's in charge, but it's Simone's job.
But it's not. I'm just saying. I just think it's important to clarify.
Right,
like,
she's not like running the day. It's like she's not running day-to-day operations, but it's like
literally built for her
gym.
by her mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Laurent left early. He said he was going to stay through when his daughter was graduating from high school, because Cecile's now coaching at Georgia, but he has left early. And now Patrick Keynes and Damon Jones, most recently head coaches in Romania, are coming to take the head coaching jobs there. Before that, they were at Austria, then the Netherlands. They've also coached Egypt. They've coached so many countries.
Not necessarily like being in charge of the national program, but yeah, it's like Damon on the floor. It's like always a new jacket. There definitely been worlds where he has to like change out the jacket. It's like, oh, now it's the Egypt jacket. Okay, now it's this jacket.
He would have 3 different credentials for different Olympics. So they are the new head coaches.
And we talked about this on behind the scenes, kind of our initial reactions. If you are a Club Gym Nerd member, this is old news. You've already heard us talk about this, but I think it's a great fit.
Yeah, I think it's smart too, because they literally teach the artistry school to the judges at the FIG is Patrick. He's the one instructing the judges. So this is the biggest weakness of the US program by far. So to get Patrick in the country, huge.
We got him. You can't leave now. Yep. It's going to be bad. Just so you know. I think you know. But we got you. You can't leave now.
Yep. So I would ask him, they go to national team camp, ask him all the questions, ask him and Damon everything, because they're geniuses with this. In sucky news, Monica Phelps has died. Monica Phelps, the notorious British Olympian, bane of every gym nerd's existence for her horrific body shaming commentary. She is the star of our commentary Hall of Shame episode. This is the woman, trigger warning about SA, a woman who remained married to a convicted sex offender coach husband, stayed with him after he went to jail. She obviously did not commit these crimes, but after he was convicted, why did she choose to stay with him? She either didn't believe the women that came forward, or she doesn't think it's that bad. I mean, those are my only two explanations. Stayed with him until she passed away. So I find her a vile human being, and but she's gone now. So that's that. The Japan Gymnastics Association has decided not to penalize Shoko Miyata for drinking and smoking before the Olympics.
I mean, I would say they did penalize her because she wasn't on the Olympic team.
They took her off the Olympic team. Yeah. It's a huge penalty. And I will say, in Japan, she was underage and it's illegal, I guess. But I'm just like, I mean, first of all, I just don't understand because I just don't understand because everyone tries some things when they're stressed. This is common. And also the whole men's team smokes. They're a bunch of chimneys. And I don't know how old they are when they start that, but I found this abhorrent that they would do this to her. And remember, her team did their team salute when they were introduced was her famous floor pose that she does, her choreography.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel awful for her.
Clearly, the team was like, this is stupid. She should be here with us.
We're going to honor her. So I find this scandalous. And yeah, Shoko, we think you were done dirty. And I hope you stick around. Jaden Rucker is out at Utah with a Achilles tear, one-time vault national champion. One more sucky news follow-up that I want to talk about. So a trigger warning about SA. I wanted to follow up on the arrest of Matthew Shriver, who was the co-owner of Everest Gymnastics in New Jersey. Remember, New Jersey, not the other Everest.
The New Jersey Everest.
New Jersey Everest, where all the drones are. That New Jersey. All the drones in the sky. Are you not following this news? People think they're aliens. Of course you're not, Spencer. So he was already on the USAG safe sport list for the list that's temporary action is no unsupervised contact with minors. He was already on that list. So it is no one's fault but his that he did these alleged crimes, but I would strongly encourage parents to scrutinize the coaching list, look into the backgrounds of whoever your coach, even if they just work at the gym, they're not directly coaching your kids. Just like you would if this was a babysitter, or you're looking at what school you're going to send them to, or an overnight camp, that kind of thing. You want to know who's there. Look these people up. These tools that you have to find out about coaches, these were hard fought to get to this point where there is a list where you can look up if anything complaint has gone to the point where people who do this for a living look at it and are like, we want to put a yellow flag on this person because they have broken some kind of rules that makes us think they might commit a crime. That's what that means. We don't trust you to be alone with minors. You shouldn't trust them to be in a gym around kids. So I just would really encourage you to, and I'll share these tools in the show notes, the USAG and Center for Safe Sports suspended and banned lists, and look up continually the coaches. And if your gym is not a USAG member gym, there are gyms that left and they started their own associations to compete in, so they don't compete under USAG just because of lists. Because they're like, oh, you're going to put us on a list, we're going to start our own gym. So if a gym is not a USAG member, ask why. And then look up those people, or look up and also Google names for news searches, because you will find out perhaps in the past why they were on lists. So yeah, that's the Everest Gymnastics in New Jersey follow-up story. In some fun news, I wanted to talk about some gifts because holiday season is upon us. And
A
one
little
thing
late, I'm gonna say.
it was a super
Order
short.
that. Shipping. Can I complain about shipping for a second?
Please do.
It's so topical. Shipping tracking has been horrible. It's all wrong. Everything's always lost. That's what I'm gonna say. No one knows where anything is. It's all lies.
What are you ordering from?
Normal places. And then like FedEx is like, oh, we don't know. And I'm like, thanks.
I think it's going to be really, really bad this year because there's only like 2 weeks. What was it, like 3 weeks from 2.5 weeks from Christmas to Christmas? Christmas to Christmas. Jesus Christ.
Christmas to
You can
Christmas.
tell
You're ready for it?
you can tell I'm ready for our well-earned vacation. We did 73 episodes this year, Spencer. Normally we do like 50.
I was there for some of them.
For 73 episodes. Like this is a banner year with many.
Well,
I was like, why
the
are we so ready
Olympics.
already? It was the Olympics, so we do more, but I'm like, usually 50 or 60, but 70. Whew, we freaking did it this year. But I wanted some gifts. If you guys want to look into things. First of all, we have a GymCastic store. And there's so many great goodies in there. And if you're a Club Gym Nerd member, you have a discount code for it. If you haven't received it, contact customer service at gymcastic.com. And we have holiday stuff in there. And we have, like, you can get a banner to hold up. They're called tapestries. You can get wall art. You can get t-shirts. You can get hats, all kinds of stuff in there. And we have like ugly Christmas sweater kind of things too. So you can check that out. And there's a link at gymcastic.com to get to that. And then Andrea Joyce has a book out right now that is called Legends of Gymnastics, a big picture book for kids. So, and I talked about this when it first came out. It's like, I love that there's so many women of color in this because the books I have from when I was growing up, there was like one, there was Nellie Kim. That's the only person that was in there that wasn't white. And so I love that. It's just a great, pretty book with little bios. Vanessa Zamarripa has her new book out called Mia and the Wind from Within. If you have a kid that's like has a hard time seeing the bigger picture and you want them to understand, this is not all it. There's a reason you matter, and there's things that matter more than sports or more than the spelling bee or more than like your Minecraft championship. This is a great book, but also because it's a gymnast who wrote it, the form of little Mia in the book is perfect, you guys. Perfect form. It's beautiful, beautiful form. Also, if you need a book that's like, Spencer, you have those conversations with idiots who don't understand women's sports sometimes. You probably
have those conversations.
Don't get in the conversation, but I sometimes am around those people. So if you've ever been like, I would like some fact-based research to combat these idiot trolls who don't understand the viability of and success and financial success of women's sports, you just want a bunch of facts. There is a book. It is called Slaying the Trolls. It is by an economist who we've had on the show before, David Barry, and also Nefertiti Walker. And it's basically a bunch of facts by economists that are like, this is why you're idiots. It's called Slaying the Trolls, Why the Trolls Are Very, Very Wrong About Women and Sports.
Did you title this?
I know, it's perfect. It's almost like they're the only academics who get that you have to have like titles to get people to actually buy the book. You can't call it like a study of boring. That this is the way to go. And also you can pre-order Amy Borman's book, all about her journey with Simone Biles to winning 5 medals at the Olympic Games, most of them gold. And also called The Balance. It's called The Balance. My years coaching Simone Biles, all the stuff you want to know about's in that book. That's what I'm going to tell you. And then Jordan Chiles also has a book coming out that you can pre-order.
Well, everybody's got a book now.
I know, Spencer, write one. Maggie Nichols' book came out this year too, didn't it? Wasn't it this year? Earlier? You can also check out her book. I find it's very interesting. In GymCastic Predicts the Future Once Again news. Per Pamchenkova, I didn't notice this, and Pamchenkova posted it. The Women's Technical Committee, before the Paris Olympics, said that the LA 2028 Organizing Committee would like to introduce mixed competition. Mixed competition. That means they want a team sport with both genders.
Yeah.
Which, how long have we been saying this is the solution? Get rid of 2 events for men and mix the genders together.
Yeah, it is the future because we've seen this kind of mixed team competition in figure skating for a few Olympics now. And I assume, I think we've both always assumed that like this is coming for gymnastics.
Yeah.
So and this is just the organizing committee would like there to be. It's not like it's official happening, confirmed, anything like that. But what's your ideal format? How is this mixed competition working?
I think the way that they will probably this is the thing. I feel like both men's and women's are going to say artistic, because they could involve rhythmic and
trampoline.
Tramp too, I guess, but this is coming from the artistic women's technical committee, so I'm guessing it's just artistic for now. Everyone's going to be like, we cannot do more competitions. We can barely get through event finals because it's so many days. So I think they will probably make event finals some kind of team competition where you combine, everyone, you have to compete. It's like, men and women both compete floor, they both compete vault, like something where it's a combined, but it's not going to be all the events, obviously, because like no one can sit through all the men's events
and all the women's events.
Yeah, no, like 4 events.
That was my thinking. Like that's such a long competition,
right?
If you have all the events going,
so it'd be like high bar and bars, floor and floor, beam and P bars.
Do you think it replaces the team finals?
I don't.
I think there would be a lot of pushback against that.
Yeah, that's
for
the thing.
Me in particular.
Like I would. There isn't. I think it will be a separate event, and most likely it will be part of event finals somehow. Or they could add another spot on the team, and that person's job is just compete in the mixed competition. But are they going to add an extra allowance? They're not, because freaking Bruno Grandi already gave up so many spots. I think it was Bruno Grandi that gave up all of our spots. And also, team finals is the #1 rated night of Olympics in the United States. Women's gymnastics team finals is the #1 night of TV, so they're not going to change that. And also there's so many countries that are great at men's and they haven't done shit to develop women's because they're super sexist and they don't care.
That's what a mixed team. That's like the positive, I think, of a mixed team event is like forcing these countries. Like you want to win a medal, you gotta put some money in the women's team because you gotta force people to do it because they're not. You can't rely on the goodness of people's hearts. You gotta force it with money and medals.
And so this is why, like we've talked about before, this is why we won it, because the countries that have really good men's programs, no reason they shouldn't have good women's programs. So it will raise the women, it will force the hand. But also I feel like, 4 years is not long enough.
Right.
They need more time to actually, So, but I love forcing the hand is the way to, start this way. It's one way to start. I just hope it isn't like a thrown together last thing, like, oh, we used to have a gala at the end.
And now it's a mixed team event where you have like one person go for each team on all of the men's and women's events.
Right. It needs to be back to back, and they actually need to rotate together and be like a team. I mean, that's the other thing. It can't be just, well, it's event finals, but your scores count. Like they have to actually be together. That's how do they do it in the figure skating? Don't they?
Well, you just figure skating. You just have your. Well, they have like short program and the boring one, the long one. It's too long. Those free skates, it's too long. So then they just like you nominate people to do each thing.
But are they out like on the, in the arena together? Like competing one after the other?
Yeah, they do like it. They have like rah-rah team. They have some rah-rah team aspects to it.
Okay, that's good.
Where they're cheering for each other.
Because I feel like we've talked about this before. I feel like the way to world peace through the genders is mixed sports. Always. Like you always have to have people that have different skill sets, and you have to learn to work together, like in the real world, almost like. What
if the mixed team event is the women have to compete the men's events and the men have to compete the women's events?
Yeah, floor and vault. That's fine.
No, but I mean, like, we would see some crappy beam routines from men, and I would enjoy that just
I
as
would
a visual spectacle.
I would love it if women did high bar and men did beam, and I think those are easy crossover events. Get Charlie, what's his face from Minnesota? Where was he at Minnesota? And now he's at Michigan. Could totally do beam. He'd win a medal. He could make women's beam finals. What's his name? Charlie. He does like the triple twisting double layout on floor. Charlie Larson, who he moved from Minnesota men's team explosion to Michigan, but he's not on the roster. But it says it's on. So maybe he's a walk on, or I don't know. But he's at Michigan now, so his beam is great. I would like to see him do beam. That's what I would like. I want to talk about the NCAA rankings.
Do you now?
I do.
Do you want to?
I want to talk about
okay, behind the scenes, Jessica did not want to do an NCAA preview because she was like, "We're going to talk about it for 4 months consecutively. We're going to do enough college gymnastics. I don't need to preview it." And both fact checker and I felt that people might like some kind of NCAA preview. So we're going to talk about it a little bit.
I'm fine. Yeah, I just feel like if we start, I'm okay with a preview. I was just like, well, if we're going to go into a preview, then that's a lot to fit in.
You weren't going to do a lot to preview. You were just going to be like, I love Michigan State, end of preview. Not like you were going to go into like watch Dev Nationals, preview these freshmen.
I would watch the Gymnastics Cup routines of people. I was just like,
yeah.
You want to come up with this in like 24 hours? That's not going to happen. Anywho, but before we talk about that, I just want to tell you guys about fantasy.
Okay.
Because fantasy is coming. So the league will be open by Christmas so that you can draft the peoples. There's going to be.
I really like, if you're a visual listener, I really liked that drafting hand motion as you came up with that word.
That was basically
pulling them. You were like pulling them in like Ursula the Sea Witch.
Yes,
getting
exactly.
Your team.
The signing when you lose your voice forever. The season they're going to drop low scores, and there's badges now and awards for accomplishments through the season. Like if you have someone that has a 10 or gets enough, the badges are really cool, you guys. One of our listeners who's a graphic designer made them. They're really cool. Okay. NCAA coaches poll came out.
Yeah.
The coaches have thoughts.
Very real, very important NCAA coaches poll.
Coaches voting on coaching things. I agree with number 1, Oklahoma, obviously. Like, duh.
I would say, okay, so we'll talk about it. Oklahoma was ranked number 1, LSU 2, Florida 3, Cal 4, Utah 5. We'll go through the rest of them and some other interesting news. Biggest surprise in the coaches poll for me is the margin of first place votes that Oklahoma had over LSU. 42 first place votes for Oklahoma and 6 for defending champion LSU. And that did surprise me because LSU won last year. And if you look on paper, Oklahoma obviously has an amazing team. LSU's team is probably the strongest roster on paper. And of course, that doesn't always translate to results or finishes.
Oklahoma beat themselves last year and LSU capitalized, which is how sports work.
And I think that's what the coaches are saying.
Yeah.
It's kind of like LSU has for a while had kind of a chip on their shoulder, like we're good enough to win, but we haven't won, and now they've won, and now they kind of have a reason to have a chip on their shoulder again, because they're basically the coaches sent the message that we think Oklahoma would have won last season had they not had a complete implosion in the semifinal, and LSU didn't have to beat them in the final.
Yeah,
they didn't have. So I think that's what the coaches poll is saying, and I think that's very interesting. I would have ranked LSU number 1, just based on strength of roster. The freshmen they have coming in, Kalia Lincoln, Lexi Zeiss, who we haven't talked about a lot because she's been so injured for so long, but a very strong elite when she was healthy. When she burst onto the scene and was just like, Pan Am's, I'm the winner, I'm the best one.
You just said burst onto the scene, so I'm going to give you
she got hit in the face.
A demerit for that.
You're right. So yeah, that was interesting to me. Not that necessarily that Oklahoma was first. I think a lot of people would rank Oklahoma first, but that LSU only had 6 first place votes to Florida's 5.
Yeah,
And that's
very close.
basically
I mean,
the same. I mean, Florida has Kayla DiCello's coming back. Selena Harris is there now. Like, Florida has a very good case, so I'm fine with them at 3. But
I would have
very interesting.
tied Oklahoma and LSU because obviously LSU has the freshman, but Oklahoma has the KJ. Everything
Yeah.
she touches is gold.
And they have Addison Feta coming in and Elle Miller, and it's a great freshman class. It's a great roster. You don't begrudge them being number 1, but they're not the defending champion. And I think
you got to beat the
LSU
champ,
has a billion amazing gymnasts on that roster because they can.
But all the coaches always hate on the new. Whatever the team is winning, everybody hates on. So, that's the tradition.
Yeah, but like typically the defending champion is ranked number 1. Not always.
Yeah.
But usually. See. Like all those years that Georgia won, it was like Georgia automatically number 1 in the coaches poll. But that's also SEC power, which is, I think, another factor that we see in the coaches poll. Alabama 6, Kentucky 7, Arkansas 8, Missouri 9. It's like block voting. The SEC coaches block voting.
Yep.
They got everybody up there.
Yep.
So I think there's like maybe some overranking there.
Except Georgia's down at 14th. That was like their best year ever. And not ever.
That was Georgia's
in a
best
long
year
time.
Ever.
It was the best year in a long
recent
time.
years. Yeah, it was like a really good finish, which is why I said like, oh, Courtney is like safer this year in her job than before because it was a really good finish. And then they were like, bye, we got to see you. See you later. Were you surprised that there wasn't more of a Cecile factor in the rankings?
No, because the coaches are, it's what you have done lately, not an elite doesn't count as a totally different sport. So
yeah, it's not a lot of projecting the future.
Yeah.
What was your biggest takeaway or surprise? Because I could go on, but like talk about this for 9 hours. So
I know, I think that Cal was ranked where I think they should be in the top 4, because I feel like they always kind of get the shaft. You
expected them to be ranked like 10th.
Yeah, and they are finally like ranking where they should, because like I said, like they're the next ones that are gonna. I said for years LSU is going to be the next one to win, and Cal is going to be the next one to win now that LSU has won. So I don't know how soon it's going to happen, but they have the whole Oklahoma factor of you have to do everything you do has to be done perfectly, and then you have to bump a little difficulty. They have that down. They have the formula. They've got the how do we get no deductions formula down. They totally have it. So I was happy to see that they are where they should.
But demoted 2 places from their finish last year, which was 2nd.
Yeah, which is not right. I think they should be higher, but I'm happy that they got in the top 4.
They got 4. They got rewarded for the level of improvement in the program and their great results lately. What's interesting is Stanford did not get that bump. Stanford finished ahead of Oklahoma last year. And everyone was like, I think the coaches said fluke.
Yep. They're 15th. I was like,
Stanford's 15th, which is solid, but like they didn't get the reflection of where they finished last year.
Yeah. Utah's
5th. I think they could have been 4th.
Yeah.
I was impressed by Avery Neff, certainly at the Red Rocks preview. I'm like, oh, all around. Done.
Yep.
You're on every event. So I think there's, they don't have Miley O'Keefe. They don't have Abby Paulson. So they're losing some scores there. They're losing an automatic 10 on beam. But, bringing in Avery Neff helps a lot. So I think they should be, certainly favorite-ish to make the 4. Maybe. Borderline favorite.
And little odd Canadian sprite Clara is there now. Yeah. She's just so unusual. I'm just very excited to see what she does.
Who do you think is underranked looking at this list? Do you have a team where you're like, oh no, that's underestimated, they're gonna shock you?
Missouri is always the team that I'm like.
Missouri in 9th. You think they're gonna make nationals?
Missouri and Michigan State. as predicted, Michigan State. Were you waiting for me to say Michigan State?
I was waiting for you to say Michigan State. I sure was.
Yeah. I still feel like Kentucky, they're always good gymnasts, but they never do what they should at the end. And I still feel like there's some culture change. It's just 2 gymnastics, and that's why they never make it to the end.
I think 7 is high for me for Kentucky because like Raina Worley's gone. Ariana Patterson's gone. And they brought in Skylar Killa-Wilhelm, who is great. Yeah. And their freshman class is really good. So I think they'll still be very strong. But I was like, 7's a little high for me there. My underranked team, first of all, is Minnesota at 18th. They finished 12th last year, and they haven't lost any big deal routines. Like Maya Hooten's back for a 5th year. So that's an underranking for me, is Minnesota at 18. Also, I think my dark horse, I would say, to exceed their expectations of the coaches poll would be Penn State. I think their freshman class is really, really good this year, and I think they're going to surprise some people and get some higher scores than we've recently expected from Penn State.
Yeah. What about Michigan at 13th?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't really have a problem with it.
You know, their result was not that strong last year because they got eliminated at regionals, and no Gabby Wilson, no Sierra Brooks. I would say, watching their preview, I was pleasantly surprised by how many freshmen got into lineups. That's essential for them because they've had several classes now. They had that amazing couple years with Wojcik and Heiskell and Brooks and Wilson, and they have a few of those 5th years hanging around, like Carly Bauman's still there, and Raina Cugino, Jenna Mulligan. But they've had some kind of classes after that, juniors, sophomores, that not a lot of routines came out of, not a lot of competition level routines. So it was pleasant to see. It was very encouraging to see Sophia Diaz bringing, who has Yurchenko 1.5, Jazera Ranger, who is just you're going to get, in a second, you're going to get a 10 on floor. Even though she didn't, she has the strength there. So that was good. And I think that's encouraging for Michigan, but I don't think 13 is that off.
Anything else you want to say about this ranking? Do you want to make a prediction now for who's going to make it
for our
Fort
top
Worth?
8?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the coaches poll says it would be Oklahoma, LSU, Florida, Cal, Utah, Alabama, Kentucky, Arkansas. I think that very debatable Kentucky, Arkansas. They're good teams, but can UCLA get in there? UCLA's 10th in the rankings. They got kind of, your results haven't been there lately. And I think it's fair because the results haven't been there lately, but I think there's the potential. UCLA has the potential to make it. Michigan State.
We have 3 Olympians on the team.
Denver is always
Denver's
they have
always
4 people on that roster, and they're always going to find a way.
Yep.
Although Jessica Hutchinson is not back, and I think that's going to be a problem. So but yeah, I think they can make it. I would promote UCLA and Michigan State into the top 8 in place of Kentucky and Arkansas. And I agree with Oklahoma, LSU, Florida, Cal, Utah, Alabama. That's what I'm going with. To fact checker who just put in the chat, I'm not hearing a top 8 prediction. I have now given a top 8 prediction. Jessica's obviously
let's go.
She's either going to name 15 teams or 1.
I will do it after I watch everyone's previews because LSU has theirs tonight. So I will watch that on Monday night. If you're listening on Monday, if this comes out, if not on Tuesday, go watch the replay.
Literally 2 hours from right now when we're talking. So you won't have heard it.
Won't be done. Yeah. And so we'll talk about it on Behind the Scenes this Friday at noon Pacific. But it'll be our last behind the scenes of the year before we start College and Cocktails in January. The first one on January
3rd is the first Friday of the season, January 3rd.
January 3rd. First College and Cocktails. I want to introduce our guest for today, Vanessa Zamarripa, first American to compete at Cheng, although we called it a Cheng back then. for Cheng Fei. Stunt woman for the Transformer franchise. She's been in Terminator movies, Free Guy, The Walking Dead, Avatar, a bunch of TV shows that you've seen. Also, most importantly, along with The Mandalorian, Pedro Pascal, and the Book of Boba Fett of the Star Wars lore, which is very important. We do talk about that in the episode. Two-time NCAA champion, made the national team while in college. This is back in the 2010s. And known for making her gymnastics look crazy, easy, floating with perfect form on everything. Just absolute freak of nature ease of gymnastics. And she has a new children's book out called Mia and the Wind from Within. Let's talk to Zam. Okay, so I have to ask you, who's your favorite like celebrity you've worked with? And not to give you any hints or anything, but I did wear my Star Wars shirt today in case you want to talk about that.
You know, it's so hard to pick just one.
But if it's Pedro Pascal, that's okay.
So as you already know, like, you know, Ryan Reynolds, I worked with him on a couple movies. Is it 2 or 3? I think maybe just 2. So the first one was Free Guy.
Yeah.
And so I was just thinking, like, I grew up in a small town in Illinois, like from a military family, and all of a sudden I'm in this big movie fighting against Ryan Reynolds, just me and him, fight scene. I was just like, what is life? You know, I just felt like anything is possible. And so with Ryan Reynolds, meeting him, he's so generous, extremely hardworking. I don't even know how he has time to do all the things that he does. And so, for example, on Red Notice, that was crazy because we were sequestered with the pandemic. This was like peak pandemic. And so we had this key card. We have to like check in, check out. And if they saw that there was any like question of, oh, like you took an extra 10 minutes to get back home, then it's a red flag. And then you had to be sequestered.
You're like isolated in your room.
For like 7 days. And so it's like, it was really important to go from set to home. Otherwise you could get in trouble. So they were like extremely strict. But anywho, yeah, on that movie, Ryan Reynolds, he was very kind to be like, because we were approaching the holiday season. And he said, if you want me to do a shout out to your family or anything, he'll do a personalized video. And so on my Instagram, that's the personalized video of him saying what he did. But then he also added that, you know, I was very kind to his daughters, which on Free Guy, like I talked to them. And it was a little interesting because as I was talking to his daughters, and his daughters are around, of course, like what his dad does, like Deadpool, like weapons and guns. But I was just like holding a weapon and talking to his daughters. I was like, it kind of feels weird. I feel like I should put my weapon down, but then again, their dad is Deadpool and
nothing.
It's totally yeah. And so such a lovely family, but this is so like the film industry is, yeah, that's why they say there's no biz like showbiz.
You're covered in blood and machine guns, holding a machete, talking to kids. Yeah,
we're on set. This is all make believe.
Yeah, make believe. We do have to talk about The Mandalorian and Pedro Pascal, though. How was your experience? I hope it was good because everyone loves him, so including me. So we want to know.
So yeah, I worked on the Book of Boba Fett. I was in 3 episodes, I believe. But it was just crazy to be in the Star Wars universe as a character. And then when I found out, like, oh, the Mandalorian is going to be in this episode, I was like, what? Like, this is so cool. So unfortunately, like the day that we were filming, I think it was his stand-in or maybe his stunt double. But I did meet him at the Star Wars celebration. But yeah, I mean, the whole cast, everyone is so nice. I feel like that's so interesting because the more you get to like the top, like meeting most popular actors. I don't know. I think from my experience, they've been pretty nice.
Did you ever think you would be a stunt performer?
No. So originally, I wanted to be a pediatric nurse. I was volunteering at Mattel's Children's Hospital at UCLA Ronald Reagan. And for some reason, I was just thinking to myself, I'm not done being an athlete. Like, what can I do to make money with my athleticism? And so I started meeting alumni on the team and found out Heidi Moneymaker and Natalie Padilla. They had been working in the film industry for 5-10 years at this point. And so I talked to them, and it sounded really interesting, but for some reason, I didn't think it was an occupation where I could make a living out of it. I just thought it was a phase and it would be fun. And so when I got into it and I got my first paycheck, I was like, oh, wow, like, it's not bad, and you get residuals on all. If it's a union contract, then residuals will come in basically for the rest of my life. So they also told me, like, you need to start building new skill sets. I had to learn new martial arts skills, basically. And so I started training Muay Thai, boxing, Taekwondo, Jeet Kune Do, Filipino martial arts, so I can handle weapons, and just all these different, like, weapons training. And what was really interesting is that being a stunt performer is almost the complete opposite of being a gymnast, because I have worked so hard my whole life to be perfect at sticking the landing, straight legs, pointed toes in the air. And being a stunt performer, it's messy. Like, I have to bend my legs. Like, I had to intentionally, like, flatten my feet out, because for some reason when I'm in the air, my toes are pointed.
Because you're a natural, because you're a unicorn, a flying unicorn. That's why.
Yes. And so what I am grateful for is that my ability to adapt and be open to situations where I have to make a shift. And it was also nice because I felt like I didn't have to try as hard. Like, okay, I can be sloppy. I can relax a little bit. But even when I was relaxing, I was still pointing my toes. And so it took some time to basically rewire my brain to be like, okay, you don't have to be perfect anymore. But the only, I guess, perfectionist part about it is hitting my mark. So when I do a stunt or a fight scene, sometimes they're like, okay, you have to land here because the camera is going to be here. And if you go too far, like, we'll have to just do it again. So that was the only thing, really, is hitting my marks. Also making sure I don't, hit anyone in the face while I'm swinging my arms, especially Ryan Reynolds. I was like, oh my gosh, I just hope, like,
don't accidentally give him a concussion in the movie.
Even though I was very confident, like, I had done so much training leading up to fighting Ryan. Like, I don't think it was just like, okay, like, you're going to fight. I was training all the time, like twice a day.
If there's a gymnast that was thinking of going into stunts, do you have any advice, best and worst parts of stunts, if a gymnast wants to go into it?
So there's this thing called hustling a set. Okay, so you print out your resume, everything. You basically have like a 10-second elevator pitch about yourself. Because when you meet the coordinator, you just have to tell them right away who you are without, spending 10-15 minutes, because they don't have time, because they're running around on set. So they just quickly meet you. You give them your resume and you just keep in contact. But also, it would be really helpful to know how to operate a camera, do editing, because if you're on a stunt team, they do previses. And so if you can help out the coordinator with editing and all of that, the coordinator can go and do something else. So you become more versatile and bring more value to a team, as maybe opposed to someone that's just performing. However, if you're just a performer, it's okay. But with me, for example, when I was working on Terminator, there's all these prevising going on.
A previs in stunts refers to pre-visualization. So stunt coordinators and directors can plan out the camera angles and the action and the hazards and all the details before it's actually filmed.
And I came up to the coordinator and I was like, hey, is there anything I can do to help? And he said, do you know how to edit? And I was like, no. He's like, okay, well, do it. And so I was like, okay. And so I started learning how to edit and developing all these new skills. And so after I worked on Terminator, then I got brought on to other movies where I was basically core team, performing, editing, helping film. And yeah, so, but first I would say develop new skills as a performer, because you need to get on as a performer first. Then you can build on all the technical stuff, all the nerdy stuff of filming and editing.
Yeah, and then you can transition. I mean, that gives you a transition path. So I want to go back to your gymnastics career and talk about the Cheng. You did this vault. You're the first American to successfully compete it. And I remember at the time, Miss Val was talking about fielding calls from Chinese media because Cheng was the only one that had done it. And then they were like, what is this college girl that's going to elite and doing this? So like, how did you, why did you decide to go into elite, and how did you decide to work on the Cheng? How long were you working on it?
Mm-hmm. So I decided to go to elite because that was always a dream of mine. And it's funny, actually, my father sent me this newspaper article of me as a young kid. I was about 10 years old. It said that my ultimate goal was to make the U.S. national team. It wasn't even to make the Olympics. It was just to make the U.S. national team. So
wow,
I guess I could safely say I accomplished my childhood goal. I was like, why did I not say the Olympics? But it's okay. I did it. So I just felt like there was just so much more I could do and so much more difficult skills I could do. And I would want to do it on the elite scene. And so went back to training elite. It was a lot of fun, but as you know, the environment is very different. I didn't have my 20 teammates, 30 people behind me cheering me on. And so it was like very quiet. It was like I would be doing a skill and I'd be waiting for someone to be like, yeah, go Zam. And it was just silent. And I was just like, okay. I was like, I'm just going to have fun. I'm going to do the best I can do today with what I have. So no worries. And so training the Cheng Fei, no one told me that I was going to be the first American female gymnast to do it. I had no idea. And in a way, I suppose I'm glad I didn't know. It's just one less thing to think about. And so when I did it and I stuck the landing, the very first time doing it, I stuck the landing. And I was just like, oh, it almost felt like, I don't know how to say this, but like something really big just happened. Like a big door just opened for me, and that I was about to step into just a world of like, I was like, oh my gosh, is the Olympics like a possibility now? But after I made the U.S. national team, not even like a month after, I don't think, or 2 months after, I tore my Achilles tendon. And so I was like, okay, this is not helping me. And also at the time, I was already seen as an older person because I believe I was the only collegiate athlete or female collegiate athlete competing at U.S. nationals. And so it's like, oh, like I'm the older person, even though I was, I believe, 20 years old at the time, which compared to the girls on the Olympic team.
Yeah, they're older than you were.
I think Simone Biles was 27. It's really nice to see that older women gymnasts are being accepted as, we're not being seen as like, oh, she's old, she's, past her prime. It's like, no, actually, we've I mean, Simone Biles won the Olympics at it's 27, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's at the peak. Like,
Yep.
So I'm really glad to see the sport is changing. And it's just healthier also, I think, for younger gymnasts to see that they could have a long career in gymnastics if they wanted to.
Did you ever compete at a place that had hostile fans? Did that ever happen?
It's funny. It's like, okay, are they being hostile or are they just kind of like talking smack because it's like sports and it's fun to do? I didn't really look too much into it. I can't control what other people say and what they do. And so I can't be worrying about all of that. And that gives me more energy to do what I need to do if my energy is not going towards the uncontrollables.
Yes.
So.
Was there any time like in your stunt work where you, because it sounds like you have really like lived the lessons that you learned during your college career, and your education in college really has transitioned into your life. Any time during your stunt work where you really had to like use those tools because like chaos was going on and you were like, can you give an example of one of those?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess there's so many. So, for example, on a Transformers set, chaos is everywhere. I mean, they call it Bayhem instead of mayhem.
Like
it's
Michael
Bayhem.
Bay, the director?
Yeah. It's Bayhem. So there's explosions going on. There's cars being ratcheted on top of roofs. And somehow I just have to find the calm. Like, okay, while I'm running, doing the job that I need to do, there's a lot of noise going on, but I can't let that interfere with getting the shot, which is making sure I do my job. Also, I became a certified PADI scuba diver.
Of course you did.
Of course I did.
Of course you did. You win all the things. You get the ends, make national team, do a chung. You've learned to scuba dive. Yeah, you're probably an instructor now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so what was really helpful becoming a certified scuba diver, which is also actually I would recommend for any new stunt performer to get that, because when you get on set and you have to go underwater, you're not surprised with all the equipment that you have to do and all the different hand, signals that you have to do to basically stay alive. So on Terminator, I was underwater in the tank and I was basically being ratcheted underwater. And so for those that may not know what being ratcheted means, you're wearing a stunt vest. And so there's a vest with all these different pick points on there. And there's a machine on the other end. Someone's operating it, controlling the PSI, how hard you're going to get pulled. And they press a button. And so it's kind of like, you're getting launched.
Oh God!
Whether it's in the air or underwater, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I do this for money. I can't see anything because when you're underwater and you open your eyes, your field of vision is like maybe you could see something that's maybe like a couple inches in front of you.
Yeah.
That was a real test of calming my body underwater, because I was like, okay, so I had to take like a few deep breaths, calm myself down, like, okay. And then I had to take my goggles off, take my air out. They have to wait for the bubbles to dissipate because they don't want that in the shot. And then for the other safety scuba divers to swim away. And then I hear 3, 2, 1, action. And then they pull me and I'm just like, ugh! And like my face is just all like, yeah. I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. But yeah, so the situations I get put into for stunts is a real test of how do I find peace in a hostile or crazy environment. So it's not for everyone.
Seriously. And you're so calm too, for you to be like, I had to really calm down, because you're always so level. Did you ever feel like, was it hard, like being a Filipina? Was it ever, were you a lot of times the only Filipina in your space? Was it different when you're on sets? Was it harder to get stunt work because there weren't as many women who looked like you? Like, or did that work in your favor? How was it?
I think it worked in my favor. Also, I'm mixed, so I have Hispanic, Indigenous American, a little bit of Jewish, but being half Filipino, my mom's Filipino, born and raised over there. So because I'm mixed, it actually helped me be able to double so many different ethnicities. Depending how you do my hair, my makeup, I could pretty much look like anything. So it actually came to an advantage. At first, when I got into the film industry, for some reason, I thought, like, okay, this is going to be really hard, but there's actually more opportunities for people, I guess, that are ethnically ambiguous, because the industry is shifting. And now they're giving people like me with my ethnic background or skin color more chances. So it's really nice to see that.
That's very nice to know. Very encouraging. Yay. So why did you decide to write this children's book now, Mia and the Wind from Within, which is how I'm always going to say the title from now on?
Yes. So, as much as I've loved working on movies and being a stunt performer on films, I feel like I don't want to say this like in a bad way, but being a stunt performer felt like I was also being silenced. So on set, there's this unwritten rule as a stunt performer. You do your job, be quiet, go home, and then it's just repeat. I know it's kind of like, why do you do that job? It doesn't sound very fun. But writing felt like it gave me a voice. It felt like I have things to say. I have things to share that are really important. And with the strikes and everything that were happening the past couple of years, it really made me step back and think about where my career was going and what things I wanted to do to, maybe be a little bit more fulfilling. I feel like I'm more than just like a body bag being thrown, against the wall or like thrown on the ground. I have feelings and so much experience that I've gone through in my life that I feel like it's important to share. And so I did it through the form of a book. And, writing this children's book, I drew from my own experiences and the valuable lessons that I learned as an athlete. And so the challenges that Mia goes through in her story and the growth that she faces it reflects the obstacles and triumphs that I went through as an athlete. So the lessons she learns about perseverance, compassion, celebrating small victories, they're all universally relevant, even if you're a gymnast or not, or even if you do sports or not. So, I hope Mia's story inspires so many young readers to embrace their challenges with resilience and see every effort, regardless of the outcome, as a step towards personal growth.
We have a nephew who's good at sports and not good at losing. And so
Yes.
I immediately, when I was reading your book, I was like, who could really benefit from this?
That's also another thing that the book touches on, is overcoming perfectionism. And so in the book, you see Mia, she has all these awards. And also, I think as kids, we get awards for almost anything, like participation. And so I don't know if it kind of creates this skewed perception of like the amount of work it takes to win an award. And so Mia, when she does this really big competition, she realizes like, oh, like if I make mistakes and I do this, I may not win. But at the same time, it is more about my personal journey and my personal growth. And it doesn't define my self-worth if I lose. And that the positive support, for in this example, it's her family, but it could really be anyone. The family can represent your teammates, your friends. And so even when she makes a mistake, she's still loved. And I think that's so important for just her own personal growth and just wanting to keep trying in the sport.
Did you always feel like that in your career?
Yeah, so at a certain point, it was hard because I feel like sometimes the only thing I could offer to my team was bringing my best performance that would score 10 or just, winning. And
Winning
so that,
constantly because you were so freaking dominant and got a million tens and won all the things. Yes.
yeah. But then when I tore my Achilles, it really felt like, okay, what do I bring to the team now? I'm not contributing any points. And I actually felt like I let my team down, that I got hurt, but I appreciate my teammates more when I got hurt. So that's why also in my book, when it says it took losing to realize how much I've already won, I think getting injured actually made me a better person and a better teammate.
Well, it's so nice to talk to you and so nice to see you.
Yes, so nice to see you. This has been so much fun. I love your podcast. You have so many great episodes. And
Thank you. Thanks so much to Vanessa Zamarripa for coming on the show and talking to us. And you can check out her new children's book, Mia and the Wind from Within, wherever you buy books. Friday, behind the scenes at noon Pacific, the last one of the year. If you haven't watched Mohini Replay yet, you can do so at gymcastic.com. It's amazing. It's so good. So many interesting stories she tells. Like all the tea that you wanted to know is on there. So you can watch the replay at gymcastic.com. And all of these things you can give as a gift. Mini commissions, Rage or Joy-O-Meter. There's only one full commission left, which you can give as a gift. We released 4. There's only 1 left. So if you want to give that as a gift to someone, go to gymcastic.com and get it now, because they're about to go away very soon. So stay tuned for a special teaser of what goes on behind the scenes that you will enjoy very much. And you can get a little more idea of what goes on behind the scenes if you're not already a Club Gym Nerd member. You get an extra podcast every week. And so until Friday at noon Pacific for the last behind the scenes of the year, we will see you then. Remember to take off on gay, split on rights. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on Friday for behind the scenes.
Because fact checker had to tell you, it's not the Mandalorian.
Okay, done typing. Thank you.
You lost your nerd cred.
Want to know what goes on our extra podcast every week that some call GymCastic After Dark? Here's a little taste for you.
Oh, Kathy says.
OMG, watching the live show made me want to watch Mohini's routines. I've been watching them throughout the week in my office because who needs to work with one more week of school? Really, it's basically, we're basically done.
Eliza says.
What I appreciated most was hearing her takes encouraged me to see things with more nuance, fun and challenging in a good way.
Yay. Liza.
Such as the instinct to demonize certain figures.
There was a GGMB quiz question, by the way, on the...
That's why no one got it.
I was like,
kids these days don't know about GGMB.
They don't know. But there's like there were like people our age, and then there was someone that was like 25 or 30 there. So they don't know, but they don't know about the time that GGMB, which was a message board, which had,
where you got your news.
All your news was on GGMB. It was also horrifying. You think Twitter's bad? Woo! Horrifying. But yeah, like, so after Tabitha Yim tore her Achilles, GGMB, we all pitched in and we got her chocolate covered strawberries sent to her house, and she took a picture with them and sent it back and said, thank you so much. We got Alicia Sacramone like a little Gucci purse. That's the kind of thing that fans do, which is nice and uplifts everyone. So if you want more like that, Blue Sky is great. It's like all of that without the toxic.
Jessica remembers the good part. RG Riverdale says it was so toxic.
It was so toxic, you guys. It was. Remember the time that there was like a fight between 2 people who like wanted to be admin, and so one called or reported the other one as like doing hate crimes to her university where she was employed, and she was like called into HR in defense of the burn. That's me.
Anthony will say, I will open by saying you and I will never agree on some things. However, the things we do agree on are the reasons I listen to your podcast. I will say the difference in my points of view have come from listening to this podcast, which is a vehicle for gymnastics that has real impact on areas outside of gymnastics. My generation, millennial, was taught we don't talk about politics and religion in the workplace. It creates division. So we have grown up unable to have difficult conversations, unable to come to a point where we disagree and move forward. One of my favorite literary characters is Nina Zenik from the Grishaverse, Shadow and Bones. I have no idea what these words are. Who fell in love with a Driscoll their version of a Neons who hunts the Grisha and tortures them, and changed him and his whole country because she refused to engage his insanity and went through to his humanity. To do that, both sides have to change and evolve and listen to each other. You do that. This podcast is essential to the gymnastics community and for changing the world around us. Thank you for the work you do and the message and passion you have.
Thank you so much.
Are you crying?
No, I'm not. I'm just like
Okay.
high-pitched, very happy voice. That's so nice. Thank you so much. This is the greater thing of like, why talk about sports don't matter. It's just entertainment. None of it matters. But how you can use it as a tool to raise awareness and take down monsters sometimes and get people to understand humanity is the important thing. Like, that's the whole point of the Olympics. Oh, thank you so much for that,
The whole
Anthony.
point of the Olympics is winning gold medals.
If you liked what you heard, get more by joining Club Gym Nerd.